Glad to have you back. You're still watching Prime Time on Arise News, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I am Ndi Amugo. The August 16 by-elections, like any other political transition, have come and gone with winners and, of course, losers. The outcome is seen from different quarters as a litmus test for what lies in wait ahead of 2027. Many who had watched keenly to see a new force in the equation with the unveiling of the African Democratic Congress ADC as a new coalition had their expectations shattered, or if you like, you say dashed, with an avalanche of disappointment as the new coalition couldn't claim a seat, while the party cries foul against the conduct of the by-elections. Well, the ADC has been going up in arms against what it describes as a charade of a by-election. To put the party's grievances in proper perspective, Honorable Chille Igbawua, an ADC chieftain, joins us live on Arise Prime Time. Glad to have you join us, Chille.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's interesting how things are playing out despite widespread public anger over economic hardship and insecurity. Saturday's by-elections across 12 states saw APC dominate with 12 of the 16 states. And the opposition did what I call whimper. What do you think?
Thank you very much once again. I think that the by-elections of Saturday cannot be a litmus test for 2027.
Why?
The expectation is more on the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, and you will agree with me that the party has just taken off and barely established itself in the states. We have been very methodical in the way we're approaching because we know what's on ground. So we're not rushing in things that we don't think are necessary. As a matter of fact, the coalition did not sponsor a single candidate. Those candidates were nominated by the ADC before the coalition took up the leadership of the party. And because of that, all that was done was to try and assist, those candidates that were already there so that they could go through the elections. So in my opinion, the fact that in Kaduna, for instance, ADC came third in most of the elections. In the southeast, it came second in 2 of the elections. And elsewhere, it came third or fourth. So I think the fact that unlike many other political parties that have been on ground for a long time, they couldn't show their faces there. And those who came fell behind the ADC means that already the Nigerian public is expectant of what the ADC can do. So I would say that we were not prepared for the by-elections. We have a program that we are pursuing. After the inauguration, post-NEC meeting, there are issues that we're handling, and we're preoccupied with that. We would notice that out of the leaders of the coalition, only 2 people were actually involved in these elections.
Oh, no.
Peter Obi, because Labour Party candidates were sponsored. And then El-Rufai in Kaduna because SDP sponsored candidates. But there was an understanding that where you have ADC candidates on ground and they appear to be more promising, in the case of Kaduna, that ADC should be stood down for ADC. And that's why you have seen the results that came out there in the Chikum, constituency, and even in the Basawa constituency.
Yeah, because that's one thing I was going to tackle you on, or take you on, the fact that I personally did watch a video of former Governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, who is a part of the coalition,
yes,
canvassing for SDP. And I was wondering, there's a disconnect.
Yes.
Meanwhile, even SDP says they've banned him for 30 years and expelled him from their party. But he was canvassing for SDP. So does that explain what happened or what transpired?
Yeah, surely. I think on another program I had already said that there was an understanding that leaders of the coalition that had already committed themselves to candidates in parties other than the ADC should continue and complete the process so that you don't abandon those candidates. So that is why El-Rufai was campaigning for SDP. But again, you will notice that he also campaigned for ADC in some places. That was understanding. Where you have a stronger ADC candidate.
I didn't see that particular one. What
okay, yeah. Where you do have a stronger ADC candidate, campaign for the ADC, not the SDP. And the same thing in the other places. So
there was a question.
No other leader of the coalition was involved in canvassing for votes during this period, because it was a program that had commenced before the leadership came on board.
That makes quite a lot of sense.
Yes.
For some, the election shows that incumbency and structure still overrides public disaffection in Nigeria's electoral politics. You would agree?
Partly.
Yeah.
I would agree partly because when Peter Obi contested for the presidency, he didn't have a structure, and he won 12 states. But does he have 12 governors in seat? No. His personality was important. So sometimes the structures are important, but the personality is also critically important. So just like he didn't have structures, and yet he was able to win the presidential election in 12 states, including Lagos.
Yeah.
Because of his personality.
You have to put that in.
It's very important, because he was a presidential candidate from there in another party who eventually won the election, but he won in Lagos. So what we should understand is that the personalities are critical in these elections. Now, if Peter Obi were on a ballot during this Saturday's election, you will see a different thing. If, for instance, El-Rufai was on a ballot, it would be different. If Atiku Abubakar were on a ballot, it would be a different thing. If a Tambua was on a ballot, it would be a different thing. But these people are not on the ballot. So the image and political influence that they carry may not go for candidates that, first of all, they did not, nurture into the election. So that should be made very clear, that the performance of the ADCC in this election is a wonderful performance, in the sense that this is a party that was virtually silent until the coalition came about. I'm not sure that you had a couple of people come and talk about ADC on a rise anyway. But now that awareness is growing, and we are methodical about it, like I said, because we are not yet there, but we have a program that will get there long before 2027.
It's almost around the corner.
Yeah, we have the program, we know the dates.
The president is applauding INEC and the APC chairman who lost the mother recently, by the way,
yes.
Iwata. He describes APC victory as a good omen.
Yeah, well, first of all, condolences to the APC chairman for the loss of his mother. Well, yes, he came in and inherited whatever was there. Of course, I cannot give him all the credit for it. But of course, you could come into a place and cause more confusion. So the fact that at least he didn't cause confusion, he should take part of the credit for whatever whatever is the outcome. And you see, what is there is that when the real politics starts, which is 2027, you are going to see, like I said before, you are going to see personalities that pull the votes. And they will begin to pull the votes. But not now, because they are not a ballot and people are not really concerned as such. Generally, by-elections or off-season elections tend to favor political parties that are already in government in those areas.
Why?
Of course, because they have the resources. And you have seen reports all over the place that there was a lot of vote buying. People were caught with lots of money for buying votes. They also control the security apparatus, and of course the general intimidation, which we also had complaints about. In Jigawa, for instance, the PDP came out to say they rejected the results because of intimidation. Because not only were the state government officials buying votes, they were using thugs to intimidate the people. In Kano State, you had hundreds of thugs arrested. So it means that the election cannot be said to be free and fair. Now, whether there has ever been a free and fair election in Nigeria is a different story. But at least this is a very small one. And we thought that, INEC should show that maybe for a smaller, challenge, there should be some level of perfection. We didn't see it.
You are a political bigwig, a stalwart. Reports just like you were talking about, having the police arrested 288 people in Kano.
Yes.
APC calling for cancellation in Kano. Protest in Enugu with elections not holding.
Yes.
INEC officials arrested in Ogun. INEC officials were arrested in Ogun State. And your candidate, your Akialamu, they cried vote buying. Where do you lay the blame? And going forward, we've cried a lot about vote buying, about all these things I enumerated. But the political parties are being pointed fingers at, political parties like yours.
Yeah,
and politicians.
Of course, it wouldn't be any other person, because it is politicians and political parties that participate in elections. You don't have a provision for independent candidates in Nigeria yet, so the fingers cannot point at anything but that. Now, let me say that, and I've said this on several fora, that the Electoral Act provides, for prosecution of election offenders. That is never done. I will have a law that lies dumb, and everybody knows that you don't get any consequences for the breach of those laws. Everybody would be happy to go and breach them. Now, my opinion has always been that there should be a separate body charged with the responsibility of, prosecuting election offenders.
You're actually saying what INEC, they came up with reforms recently.
Yes.
And that was one of the major points in their reforms. You should have a separate body to prosecute.
Yes.
I think you should have a separate body to register parties.
Yes.
So in fact, they talked about unbundling, and these were some of the issues they mentioned.
Exactly, and that's correct. And this has been in the issue for a long time. And I don't know why it is taking that long for the National Assembly to take steps to get this done with. And you can have, INEC is definitely overburdened. Now, if you had all elections in one season, it would be a different thing. But now that you have by-elections and you have off-season elections and all that, it means that at every time, INEC is involved in the process of preparing for one election or the other. So where do they get the time to handle the prosecution? Of course, an argument can be made. You can outsource it. INEC can outsource prosecution of offenders, because they're the ones who receive the complaints about those offenses, and then those who report cases of election malpractice.
The question there is it in the law? Can they do that? Is it constitutional? Is it in the electoral law? Do they have the
It doesn't
power?
need to be there. There are many agencies, they don't have lawyers in their employment. So you outsource that service. Anyway. It's a regular thing in public service. That where you think is more economical to outsource a service.
Well, they've been doing it with transportation.
Yes, exactly. For instance, many agencies like ministries don't employ, cleaners and security men anymore. They outsource it to security agencies, so they don't have that, burden of running those.
Something they think is that should not consume their time, exactly, and they don't pay so much for what they can outsource. Well, your party is raising objections and calling. I don't know why we get this. They're calling the international community and media partners, observers to brace themselves. Is this not the usual refrain of political parties when they lose elections, Chille?
Well, I think it's a person who is beating their cries, obviously. So the person who wins cannot go cry; he will go celebrating.
So APC has flogged ADC and PDP and NMPP.
Yes, but you see, the issue is when people cry, they're not crying for the flogging. It's just like a person goes into the ring as a boxer, and the law says when you put yourself in the boxing ring, you cannot complain about being hit anywhere. But there are rules on where you can hit your opponent. And when an opponent complains, you are hitting me in the wrong place, that's why you defeated me, then, the other person ought to be disqualified. So is it in politics. That when the rules are breached, and results are announced so casually, as it all went on seamlessly, that is when the outcries come up. And you've seen that there is not one political party that is complaining. I think, like I said, even APC that won in most places is complaining in Kano. Why? Because they feel that there was unfairness. There was some injustice done to them. So the cries are genuine. Otherwise, at least maybe APs would have said, well, out of 16, I've got 12, so let me go and rest. They're not resting, they're crying in a particular place because they feel that injustice was done to them in that particular place. So that's the reality of it.
Your party is being accused of politicizing EFCC to blackmail the president, Tinubu. Instead, those arrested, some are saying that if you get arrested, I know that Tambuwal was one of the people arrested, former governor of Imo State.
Yes.
Forgetting his name now.
Emeka
Ihedioha has. Oh, okay. Those arrested should, what they're saying, those arrested should, if you know your hands are clean, prove your innocence. I mean, is there any truth to the fact that EFCC that the Tinubu government or Tinubu himself is politicizing EFCC?
I will say yes to that because this is not the first time that EFCC is being used as an attack dog by the government in power. Now, Tambuwal has been out of office for a while. He is a sitting senator. Now you invite him. It's not as if you run after him and arrested him somewhere. You invite a sitting senator to come to you for interrogation. He comes in and suddenly you say he's under arrest and he needs to be bailed. And when do you tell him that he's bailed? When the person to process the bail has closed from office. So it means that what you intended in the first place was to make sure he slept there. Possibly somebody on the other side saying, look, at least make sure he sleep there for one day. Otherwise, somebody who has been Speaker of the House of Representatives, somebody who has run a state for 8 years and is now in the Senate, I mean, he can always be given a bail on self-recognition. This is what we know. So, but when you begin to say that he has to follow those, where is he going to run to anyway? It's not difficult for you to find him where you want to find him because he is there sitting in the Senate. The same thing, Emeka Ihedioha, he's been out of office since when? Why is it only now that he's in ADC that you are going after him? And we hear too that are interested in finding out whether they can also invite David Mark. All these are because the ADC has suddenly come about. So that's why we're saying we have no objection to the EFCC doing their job. In fact, I think an ADC government will reinforce the functions of the EFCC.
If they get the opportunity.
They will get it.
Which is looking from the by-elections.
ADC is not here for by-elections. It's here for proper elections.
Okay, ADC itself as a party, and you can't, you can't say otherwise. You can't negate this fact. Is embroiled in crisis. Maybe Kachuku, I have had him on set, I have interviewed him, insists the takeover of the party is illegal. El-Rufai, like I said earlier, was campaigning for SDP. He has issues with SDP in Kaduna. Obi is one leg in, one leg out. Correct me if I'm wrong, Atiku has not yet registered.
Well, first of all, Obi is not one leg in, one leg out, neither is El-Rufai. I said in the beginning that these are proper members of the ADC. And the party ADC allow them to go and complete a project that has started before coming to ADC. So they're not one leg in, one leg out. Obi has said this over and again. I think they are forcing now to be putting an ADC cap.
Okay, so I haven't seen him. He was
okay. Well, you check the net. You will find him wearing an ADC cap.
Okay.
So I think because of the pressures, but the issue is that these are the facts. They are going to complete projects that had already started, which are not strictly speaking ADC projects. That's why they are doing that. But I think now, when you say there's crisis in the ADC, let me tell you, Kachuku has no local standby anywhere. He came into ADC. Within 2 months, he was given a waiver to stand for presidential election. He couldn't even run the election. He had problem with the party. He was expelled. He's not an official of the party, so he has no local. He's just making noise on the television. He cannot go to any court. Let him go to court. Let him stop going about television stations. He's just being sponsored to distract the ADC. We have no crisis. Look, we were on this project for 1 year, 4 months. We had various committees, and I had the privilege of serving in most of them, including the legal committee. Before we chose ADC, we made sure that we didn't have a baggage to carry along. ADC, had issues for which the INEC set up an ADR, which resolved it. So what they talk about the officials outstaying their tenure is not there, because the ADR set by INEC postdated the issue they are complaining about. And INEC advised ADC, go and conduct your national convention.
That's what I was
They
going to
went
ask
and did it in Zaria.
ADC?
Yes, in 2022. Go and check the records.
Okay, that was before the coalition.
Yes, that was before the coalition. So that is to say that the executive that is on board is the one elected in 2022 for 4 years. And the 4 years have not gone. And the constitution of the ADC prescribes that conventions shall hold once in 4 years. So another 4 years have not come, except there's something extraordinary. So those who are saying that people who have stayed their tenure, they were saying that before the convention. Now the convention has been held, elections have been undertook, and then the ADR by INEC was undertaken. They all signed on that we now agree that we all live in peace. The only part of the agreement that was not implemented at the time we took over was that it was said all people suspended from the party as a result of the internal crisis that was going on should be reinstated. When we went in on the inauguration National Executive Committee, the first motion was to reinstate all of them, and they were reinstated. But for avoidance of doubt, the motion said everybody is reinstated except Kachiku, because he has no place to be reinstated. Why are you reinstating him as a presidential candidate in 2023 elections? He has no place to be reinstated because he has no relevance in the party. That's the issue. He is a member if he wants to be, because even though he was suspended, he can apologize and apply to be reinstated. But for now, he has no local standing to make the noise he's making.
All right, Chille, Igbawua would have asked you about Abubakar Atiku's position, saying let all the opposition parties unite and put their houses in order and reclaim the country in 2027, and the question of after the by-elections, what next for the party? But I can't ask that question because my time is up. So we'll leave it there. Chille Igbawua, ADC stalwart. Thank you for your time on Arise Prime Time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.